Hello everybody, welcome to TCOM 101 at Ball State. I'm Dr. Mike Gerhardt. In this video, I want to start discussing some of the important megatrends facing society today in terms of TCOM technology. So let's talk about technology megatrends. As we look around us, we see all kinds of powerful devices, such as the tablet computers. Each one of these devices or technologies reflect many of the important trends that we're witnessing in the world today. So we're going to elaborate on some of these trends and make sure that you have an understanding of them. Now, it's important to understand what's going on with technology because the world is accelerating right now. It's moving at warp speed. Changes are happening quickly, and it's important to learn about technology so that you can stay up to date and not become obsolete. So, how do we make sense of all of the rapid changes, the accelerated changes happening in the media landscape today? Well, for me, it's important to consider the megatrends. This is a starting point for analyzing the TCOM world, for understanding what's happening in a complex world. Megatrends are really the forces that define our present and future worlds, the main forces and directions. So what are the TCOM technology megatrends? Well, here's the first one, and this is the mother of all the other trends. This is the trend that underlies and affects everything else, and it's very simply the shift to digital technology, the transition from a pre-digital analog world to a digital world. Now, this shift started to happen at the end of the 20th century, the rise of computers, the rise of digital technologies, the computer age. Digitization, computerization, that's the shift to a society where computers are ubiquitous. They're everywhere, and they affect every aspect of our lives. One good example of this is the rise of something called the IoT, the Internet of Things. You know, at first it was primarily people who were connected to the internet, but now it's all of the devices out there in society that can potentially be connected to the internet. The Internet of Things is a network of physical objects, not people, but physical objects, devices, vehicles, buildings, any kind of item that's embedded with computer technology. So these devices and objects can now collect and exchange data. This could be very good in many ways. It could lead to all kinds of great efficiencies. Anything that can be connected will be connected. So the Internet of Things refers to the spread of computer technology so that it becomes embedded in all of the objects around us in society. Here's another important trend, the rise of information technology. Now, when I use the term information technology, I have a very, very specific meaning here. I'm really talking about networked computers. Information technology really merges high-speed communication links like the internet, with computing. It's the convergence or the marriage of computers and networks, information technology. Of course, this is a global phenomenon. The internet is a global distribution system. Around half the world has an internet connection today, about 50% of the world. Back in 1995, it was less than 1%. So you can look at this chart and see the exponential growth of the internet around the world. All right, trend number 3, an important trend that you can observe in the world around you. This is called convergence, digital convergence. Convergence just means things come together and merge. Things that were heretofore separate can now come together in magical new ways. Convergence is the merger, not only of the technology, but also of the industries and the organizations that are involved in electronic communication. So convergence is merger. This can happen at the corporate level. We've seen a lot of this in recent years. Back in 2011, Comcast, the big cable company, merged with NBC Universal, the content creator. This is an example of convergence. More recently, we saw the big deal between Disney and 21st Century Fox, another example of convergence at the corporate level. Yet another example, recent example, 2018, AT&T, the big phone company, merges with Time Warner, a media company, to form a converged, concentrated media giant. So digital convergence is happening. These companies are converging, but the technology is converging as well. All the media are going digital. If they're speaking the same language, zeros and ones, then new combinations can be formed and integration can occur. Now, here's an example of convergence around a company called Comcast. Comcast is the nation's #1 cable company. It provides a lot of cable TV and internet service. Well, they bundled these services together into something called the triple play and the quadruple play. The triple play, it's convergence of services. So you can bundle your services together. You can go to Comcast or the phone companies and get the same package of services, digital phone, video, and broadband connectivity. At one time, you went to separate companies to get these various services. The quadruple play is when they try and sell you a 4th service like home security or a home phone line. So a lot of the convergence is happening around the internet. Of course, the internet is a main point of convergence. Everything, every form of assisted human communication can occur on the internet platform. So it's convergence around the internet protocol. IP convergence implies the carriage of different types of traffic, everything possible over a single network based on the internet protocol. Convergence is also happening in our smartphone devices. These are powerful devices that enable us to do all kinds of things that at one time really were kind of separate technology. Remember Radio Shack, the old electronics store that's now out of business? Everything from this 1991 Radio Shack ad you can now do on your smartphone. Okay? An incredible, powerful amount of features have been packed into these little devices. Same thing with the video game consoles. Okay? They do more than allow us to play video games. A multitude of features crammed within a video game console. So those are examples of convergence. All right, let's continue our discussion of the megatrends. How about the rise of connectivity? This is really important, the rise of connectivity. We all need to have a powerful connection to the internet in order to be able to survive and thrive in the world today. So connectivity is the ability to hook up these computers to one another by wireless or wireless technology so that we have access to the world of online information. And there's all kinds of forms and flavors of access. The first kind of internet access, of course, was the slow dial-up modem. Then we saw the cable and phone companies get into the game. We've got powerful wireless forms of connectivity like Wi-Fi and Li-Fi, which uses light waves. We've got optical fiber, we've got mobile broadband, LTE, we've got a new form of connectivity emerging right now, 5G, and we have satellite internet connectivity, so a variety of different ways that people can connect to the online world. Broadband, that's the kind of connectivity that we all want. We want a super fast and reliable internet connection. So megatrend number 5 is the rise of broadband. What is broadband? That's a conduit, a transmission facility, a pipeline, if you will, that has a huge amount of bandwidth. A big capacity to carry a lot of information. It's all about bandwidth, folks. That's the commodity, bandwidth. That's the capacity, the overall capacity of any kind of conduit or pipeline or communications network. The bigger the pipeline, the more bandwidth, the more information that gets passed through. Who are the top broadband providers in the United States? Well, it's the major cable companies and the phone companies. Now, how do we define broadband? A few years ago, the Federal Communication Commission changed the definition of broadband. It used to be 4 megabits per second. Now they've raised that definition to 25 megabits per second. So that's the current minimum speed at which you can start calling something broadband, that it delivers at 25 megabits per second. Now, does the United States have the best connectivity, the top connection speeds in the world? No, we typically fall kind of low on the list. Usually, South Korea and Sweden rank as the most connected countries. Now, because of connectivity and broadband, we've seen the rise of an incredible new form of media distribution, and that's called streaming. Streaming can happen with audio, Spotify, or with video, Disney Plus, Netflix. Streaming media is sound and pictures that are transmitted on the internet and streamed to us. The rise of streaming. Another direction we're going is the rise of fiber optic networks. Google Fiber is an example of this. Fiber optics, glass strands, have amazing abilities to carry information, in fact, up to a gigabit per second to consumers. And so a lot of cities are laying out a fiber optic infrastructure, although it's very expensive to do this. Compression. Megatrend number 6, advances in digital compression. Compression means to squeeze things together. Digital compression. Digital information, one of the advantages of digital information is that it can be compressed. You can squeeze it down, sample some of the information, and reduce the number of digits that have to be transmitted. The whole goal is to make the messages more efficient while preserving the basic information content. Now we have all kinds of great compression schemes right now to help us stream a video. And you've probably heard of MPEG, and now we're up to really using something called MPEG-4. In the world of audio, we've got great compression schemes, including MP3 and MP4. So these compression schemes and technologies enable us to push large amounts of information very efficiently through the data network. All right, megatrend number 7, interactivity, increased interactivity, more and more interactivity or engagement with electronic communication. Interactivity means that we're really engaged. We're able to respond and be involved with what's going on in the process and modify it. There's a dialogue between the users and the computer and the communication devices. So a video game is a good example of an interactive experience. That controller forces you to be involved, to make decisions that affect the subsequent storyline of the game. Now, we see interactivity increasing in all the devices around us. These new smart TVs let us interact in all kinds of new ways. We can have voice control, gesture control, touchpad remotes. Plus, the TVs are full of all kinds of apps and features that enable us to engage and interact more and more. Smart speakers, the rise of the smart speaker. This is a way to interact through voice. The Echo is a great example of this, the rise of the smart speakers. Now, there's all kinds of ways that we can interact. The actual method of interaction is using something called an interface. Well, we have a lot of these. The first ones I saw were joysticks and keyboards and then the computer mouse. Okay? But now we have all kinds of new things like gesture control and voice control and facial recognition. So this is an ever-expanding world, the world of interactivity. I guess the ultimate form of interactivity would be the brain-computer interface, the brain-machine interface. So that would allow us to interact with just our thoughts. We can manipulate computers and machinery with just our thoughts, and we're making incredible progress in this area right now. And we are able to do some of this interaction with our brain waves. All right, megatrend number 8, the expansion of multimedia. Multimedia is a concept that's been around for decades. What does it mean? Multimedia is technology that has powerful convergence. It merges different ways of communicating and then presents information in more than one medium. So it's bringing in text, graphics, animation, video, music, voice, all of that into one message or one platform. Now, smartphones have a strong focus today on multimedia capacities. We can use the smartphone to engage in a variety of different kinds of media information. Anyway, that's a look at some of the basic megatrends, a starting look. Of course, there are many others, and all of these trends have important unintended consequences. So stay tuned to these videos. Take care of yourself and each other, and check back soon for another video. So long, Dr. Mike.